So yesterday we started with the poverty, the meaning of poverty. So the concept of poverty line, right? And this is basically one of the concept which will help us in the measurement of poverty line. Sorry, in the measurement of absolute poverty. So what is the poverty line? So this is an imaginary line. So what is the poverty line? This is an imaginary line. What kind of imaginary line? So suppose this is the poverty line, and this poverty line says that anyone who is having 700 rupees per person per month consumption expenditure, so that person is not poor. So all the people below this cutoff point, below this poverty line, so this poverty line is an imaginary line, this line, and this acts as a cutoff point. So below this everyone is a poor, or they are called BPL, that is below the poverty line, and the people above this line, they are called above the poverty line, that is APL, right? So this is how this poverty line works. So this is an imaginary line, and this is a very crude measure. This is a very crude measure. Crude means very basic measure. This tells us a broad idea about how much is the level of poverty in the country, right? So you just write a line about this poverty line in your notebook. Write the definition of the poverty line. What is the definition of the poverty line? So poverty line means per capita monetary requirement. Per capita monetary requirement that a person needs to afford. That a person needs to afford the basic minimum goods and services. That a person needs to afford the basic minimum goods and services, right? So if suppose we say a person requires certain level of food, certain level of water, some health, and so on. So this is the basket of expenditure. Basket of consumption expenditure. When the person goes to the market to buy all these items, the price paid to buy all these items, that is consumption expenditure, right? So if this consumption expenditure is up to like less than 700, then this is falling under the BPL, and if it is above 700, then it is falling in the APL, above the poverty line. So this is how the concept of poverty line works. So poverty line मतलब एक ही चीज बताता है कि अगर एक पर्सन पॉवर्टी लाइन के बराबर उसका कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर है, तो दैट पर्सन कैन afford to buy the basic minimum needs, and otherwise the person cannot. Now you will ask a question, sir, why we are taking the consumption expenditure, why not income? why not income? So here I would like to ask the question from you. Why not income? So who would like to tell why we are not taking as why we are not taking the income? We are considering the expenditure, not the income. हमें income लेनी चाहिए ना. अगर हमें if we want to know whether the person is poor or not, we should take the income. Why expenditure? This is the question.
Beef.
Why we are taking the consumption expenditure and why we are not taking the income? There are many reasons. There are many reasons for the same. So the reasons include, the first reason is that there are many dependent people. There are many dependent people. So for example, children, students, they do not have any income, है ना? So you can take yourself, if you are not working somewhere, you are dependent on your parents. So you can take your own example. You can take your own example. You are a dependent person on your parents. You are not earning any income, but you are not poor. Are you getting? You are not poor. You are not poor, and you are dependent. You are not earning any income. Still, you are not poor, right? So there are many dependent people, even if they do not have any income. Secondly, there can be many people, even though their income is less, but they can consume from after taking the loan, or maybe from their own savings, है ना? So for example, you you join some employment, and after some time you decide that okay, I want to leave this job, and now I want to prepare for the higher studies. Maybe I want to prepare for the civil service exam. So now whatever money I have saved from my uh, job, I will use that money to spend on my consumption expenditure during my preparation for the civil service. So you are not poor. You are not poor. You are consuming. You, even if you don't have the income during the time of civil service preparation, but you are consuming from your own savings, or maybe you are taking some loan, right? So many people, they take the loan from the bank, and they go for the foreign studies, they go for the higher studies. So even if they don't have the income, still they are not poor, right? Third, in case of unorganized sector, it is very difficult to calculate the income. It is very difficult to calculate the income. People usually do not report their income. So in India, largest sector of economy is in the unorganized sector only, and it is very difficult to calculate the income in case of unorganized sector. Therefore this consumption expenditure seems to be much more beneficial. Next is, the data of most of the agencies is primarily focusing upon the consumption expenditure. They can easily collect the consumption expenditure, and the data of the income is not able to, they are not able to generate. So these are the various reasons because of which we are not using the income, rather we are using the consumption expenditure to calculate the poverty line, right? So I hope the concept of poverty line is clear. So everyone who is below the line is BPL, and person who is above the line is APL, and so on. And there are various reasons why we are not using the consumption expenditure, sorry, the income, right? The next concept is head count ratio. Head count ratio. So head count ratio simply tells that how many number of BPL households are there in the country as compared to the number of total households in the country. So it tells the percentage of people or percentage of household who cannot afford the basic minimum needs. So everyone, I will request, please uh, take out a pen and paper and keep writing all these things,
Yes,
because all these things
yes.
you will not find in the PowerPoint presentation, right? So percentage of household who cannot afford the basic minimum needs. So this head count ratio, it actually tells, head count ratio actually tells incidence of poverty. So if you hear the term incidence of poverty, this incidence of poverty basically means head count ratio only, or this is also called as the magnitude of poverty. So head count ratio, HCR, or incidence of poverty, or magnitude of poverty, this is the this is one of the uh, most popular way to calculate the poverty and most popular way to report the poverty. So when we say 32% people in the rural areas are poor, we are basically representing the head count ratio only. So this head count ratio is one of the primary measure which is reported in the newspapers also, head count ratio, and you will come across this term very frequently in the newspapers, head count ratio. Next term is the poverty gap. So what is poverty gap? So this is the poverty line. Suppose this is the poverty line, 700 rupees per person per month. So please keep in mind, this poverty line is always per person per month, always per person per month, right? So this is the poverty line, and below this poverty line there are two three people. One is Mr. A. Mr. A is having the income of 650. Mr. B is having the income of 600, and there's Mr. C who is having the income of 200, right? But all of them, if we see from the head count ratio, all of them are classified as a BPL. Mr. C is earning just 200, very very poor, extreme poor. Mr. C is extreme poor, and Mr. A is earning 650, which is very very close to the poverty line. So the person who is very close to the poverty line and the person who is very very farther away from the poverty line, both are classified as a BPL. So this BPL is not a very accurate way to tell that how many people are poor. It cannot differentiate between the extremely poor person and a person who just became the poor, or who can become above the poverty line by just getting 50 rupees extra per month, right? So this differentiation is made possible through the with the help of the poverty gap. So this poverty gap basically represents the difference between average of BPL and the poverty line, right? So this difference between 200 and the 700, this difference between 600 and the 700, difference between 650 and the 700, it will be reported with the help of poverty gap. So once this poverty gap is clear, then government can frame the policies that okay, 10% people are in the extreme poverty, they cannot afford even the food, so let us give them food. 10% people are just near the poverty line, let us give them job, and they will come above the poverty line, right? So the government policies can become much refined, they can be more targeted. So this is how this poverty gap works, right? So this poverty gap also, we also call this as uh, intensity of poverty, or depth of poverty. intensity of poverty or depth of poverty, right? And how do we calculate? The calculation is done by the poverty gap ratio is calculated as equal to average gap between poverty line and actual income, no, sorry, actual expenditure of the BPL divided by the poverty line. So this is poverty gap ratio. So far we have discussed poverty line. We have discussed why we do not consider the income. We have discussed the head count ratio, and we have discussed the poverty gap, right? We have discussed the poverty gap. Now these are the measures through which we can know that how many people are there in different categories, right? Now we should also know, if we are calculating the poverty line, if we want to calculate the poverty line, first of all, how many days data we should consider, and which item of consumption should be taken into account, है ना? तो क्या हमें सिर्फ राइस व्हीट लेना चाहिए, क्या हमें राइस व्हीट और पनीर भी लेना चाहिए, है ना? क्या वेदर पनीर और some or more nutritious item is part of the consumption expenditure or not? So which item should be considered? So this is called basket of goods. So what should be the basket of goods? Which goods we should consider? And this is called reference period. That what should be the reference period for calculating the poverty line. So in India, for defining this reference period and which basket of goods should be considered, we have constituted many committees, right? We have constituted many committees, and these committees have given the recommendation over a period of time. So we will discuss those committees and what have been their recommendation as far as the reference period and the basket of goods is concerned. What is the recommendation regarding the reference period, and what is the recommendation regarding the basket of goods, and after the recommendation, how much is the poverty level in India as per their recommendations, right? Let us see the poverty line. So poverty line, the level of income to meet the minimum level of conditions. It is defined as the money value of goods and services needed to provide basic welfare to an individual, and it differs from one country to another. If we see at the global level, the World Bank has defined 1.9 US dollar as the daily income per person. If any person earns less than 1.9 dollar, then person is extremely poor, and this is called as this is called as international poverty line. So international poverty line has been given by the World Bank. This has been given by the World Bank, and it is basically $1.9 per day per person, right? So there can be a question that which organization has given the international poverty line. So as per the different poverty lines, as per the recommendations of different committees, the different poverty lines have been like this. For the rural area, 446 in 45, 672 in 910, in the 100 and in the 2011-12, 816. Urban areas 578, 859, and 1000. Again, this is per capita per month. Please be careful. This is per capita per month during different period of time. You do not need to remember these poverty lines, right? You can just have an idea. So idea के लिए हमारे पास में one thing is that rural poverty line is less than the urban poverty line, because the level of inflation in the rural area is less. The price of the goods in the rural area is less. Therefore, the rural poverty line is less than the urban poverty line. Now, this is the question of 1999. Please read this question and what should be the answer. आपको आंसर बताना नहीं है. You are not supposed to tell the answer. So, person below the poverty line in India are classified as such based on whether they are entitled to a minimum prescribed food basket, they get the work, so this is wrong. They belong to agricultural laborer, this is also wrong. Daily wages, this is also wrong. So answer is very simple. Option A, they are entitled to minimum prescribed food basket, right? So answer is A, option A. Head count ratio we just discussed. This is expressed as a number of poor people as a proportion of total population. Then we have poverty gap. Poverty gap means difference between the poverty line and the average actual monthly consumption expenditure. So we already discussed this point. It indicates shortfall from the poverty line, and across the world you can see this poverty gap index at $1.9 per day per person, right? So some of the areas of high poverty gap, they are in Asia, and in the Africa, sorry, not Asia, Africa. In Asia, the poverty gap is between 0% to 20%. So extreme poverty is in the continent of Africa, not in the continent of Asia. Here you can see poverty gap of our neighboring countries. So in India, in 1980s, the poverty gap was 16.7, and latest poverty gap is 4.3. So we have improved a lot. But if we see Pakistan's poverty gap was 20.6 in 1980s, and now this is 0.9. So they have done better. Even China has done far better. Their poverty gap was 43.2, and now it is 0.4. So most of the other countries have actually done better than India. Now all these countries, most of these countries are from the Africa only. So most of these countries are having the poverty gap index of more than 30, and it represents they are having the extreme poverty. Now, income based poverty line versus consumption expenditure based poverty line. So I already discussed this point, that why we are taking the consumption based. First of all, income is irregular, especially in the informal sector, but their consumptions are comparatively stable. So this point we can see as of now during this corona crisis also, millions of informal laborers, they are out of job, they are not earning single rupee, but still they are getting the item to consume from the government. Dependent people, I already discussed this point. Some people use their asset, the savings, or they take the loan, and Indian economy is dominated by the unorganized sector. Now, the methods to estimate the absolute poverty, right? So this is basically about the reference period. What will be the reference period? So I already told that if we want to calculate the poverty line, then we should know what is the reference period of the data and which basket of goods is to be taken. So this method is basically about the reference period. So first is the uniform reference period. So till 1993, the poverty line was estimated based upon the URP. And what is this? So in case of URP, uniform reference period, uniform means the same reference period is used for all the items. For all the items, same reference period. And this reference period is 30 days recall period. So when the NSO is doing the survey in the market, in the among the citizens, they go to the people and they ask that how much was your expenditure during last 30 days on all the items of your expenditure, right? So this is uniform reference period, and this is very crude measure. This is very crude measure because this does not differentiate between the item of regular use and the item of irregular use. Next is mixed reference period. So mixed basically means it represent more than one reference period. 1993 onwards, we are using this MRP instead of URP. MRP takes into account consumption expenditure for 5 non-food item for 365 days. So जो आइटम नॉन फूड हैं उनका हम पीरियड लेके चलेंगे 365 डेज का, और जो फूड आइटम्स हैं उनका हम पीरियड लेके चलेंगे 30 डेज का, राइट? सो 30 डेज का तो मोस्ट रिसेंट हो गया, और नॉन फूड का 365 डेज. व्हाई वी आर टेकिंग 365 फॉर द नॉन फूड? बिकॉज the item like clothing, footwear, durable goods, education, institutional medical expenses, they are not incurred throughout the year, right? So if we consider the data of last 30 days, then we might miss the data of many of these items, because it is quite possible that person do not incur any expenditure during last 30 days on footwear, on clothing, on durable goods, on education, on institutional medical expenses. So to make the data more realistic, this non-food item will be taken as the reference period of 365 days. Next is modified mixed reference period. So this has been modified further. So mixed reference period has been refined further. So in this case, we take 365 days for item of which are durable in nature. We take 7 days for the perishable items, for example for edible oil, for eggs, fish and meat, vegetables. So most of these are the perishable items. And for other items, for remaining food items, for fuel and light, etc., we take 30 days, even for the rent, taxes, non-institutional medical, etc. So there are 3 period: 365 days, 7 days, and 30 days. So this is modified mixed reference period, MMRP, right? So it has been used in India since 2009-10, and Rangarajan committee has recommended this in 2014. We will discuss about Rangarajan committee. We will discuss in detail. Even World Bank also supported the idea of MMRP because MMRP gives much more defined data. So if we see the difference between the three, if we use URP, then poverty estimate can be higher. Why? Because we might miss the expenditure on non-food items which was incurred prior to 30 days. If we use MRP, then poverty estimate will be less than URP, but it will be more than MMRP. So it is similarly like in this case also we might miss some expenditure, right? Poverty estimate will be lower than both URP and MRP in case of MMRP. So here it will be the lowest because here we will get the exact data or more accurate data of consumption expenditure, and this will be more comprehensive. So it will include all the items because it will include all the items. So definitely the consumption expenditure will increase, and if consumption expenditure increases, then there are chances that the person will be classified as below the poverty line, right? Sorry, will be classified as the above the poverty line. The person will be classified as the above the
MMRP.
poverty line. There are high chances the person will be classified as above the poverty line. Now coming to uh, the different committees in India regarding the estimation of poverty. So in the pre-independence time, by gate में बेटा, please close the gate. So in the pre-independence time, the first estimate of poverty was made by the Shri Dadabhai Naoroji, who also propounded the theory of the drain of wealth, right? So he, in his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, he computed subsistent-based poverty line, ranging from 16 rupees to 35 rupees per capita per year. It was per year, right? At 1867, 1868 prices. So it was more than 150 years ago. So this kind of question may be asked in the history. Then in 1938, as per the National Planning Committee, which was headed by the Shri Jawaharlal Nehru, we also calculated some poverty line. We do not need to remember the figure of poverty line, how many rupees they recommended. We just need to understand that before the independence, there were two important people. One was the Dadabhai Naoroji, and one was the agency under the Jawaharlal Nehru, that is National Planning Committee. There were many other committees which were there. So the first committee was Dadabhai Naoroji only. There were many more committees. We do not need to remember all these names. We can see the last one also. So last one was the Ministry of Commerce under the Government of India in 1945-1946. Now coming to the post-independence calculation of poverty. So post-independence, the primary committee was one of the major primary committee was V.M. Dandekar and Rath committee. So this is called Dandekar and Rath committee, and they use the data of 1960-61 and they gave their report in 1971. And they used the calorie based consumption basket. So they fixed 2250 calories per person as the minimum level of per capita nutrition, and for buying this in the rural areas expenditure of 180 rupees, and in the urban areas the expenditure of 270 rupees per annum on an annual basis was required. Again, you do not need to remember the figures, आप सब इतना याद रखोगे कि उन्होंने कैलोरी बेस्ड दिया था, ठीक है. और according to them the head count ratio, HCR means head count ratio, was in the rural area 40%, in the urban area 50%. The next major committee was Alag Committee, YK Alag Committee. This committee gave the report in 1979, and they used the data of 1973-1974, and they differentiated between the rural area and the urban area. So based upon the recommendation of this committee, in India, for the first time, the calorie intake was used as the yardstick to fix the poverty line, right? So before this, Dandekar and Rath committee gave the recommendation, but those recommendations were not implemented by the government, right? So first time recommendation was given by the Dandekar and Rath committee, but the recommendation was implemented first time after the YK Alag committee recommended in 1979, and it divided the rural and urban poverty line separately. So in the rural area, the calorie intake of 2400, in the urban area calorie intake of 2100 was fixed per capita per day. So this is per capita per day, right? And here health and education was not taken into account. So only and only calorie was considered, right? So now why rural is high and why urban is low? Because in the rural area the manual work is high, the use of labor, the physical work is more as compared to the urban area. So they need to consume more calories, right? So in the rural area people use more labor force, more physical force basically. So they need to consume more calorie. That is why in the rural area high per capita calorie were taken. But still in the rural area calories are more, but poverty line is comparatively low. Why? Because in the rural area the prices of goods are low. Because the prices are low, therefore the consumption expenditure remains low. So the poverty line for the rural area is low as compared to the urban area. This point should be very clear to you, that even though the calorie intake is high in rural area, their poverty line can be low because of the low inflation in the rural area. The next committee was Lakadwala committee. It also continued with the same recommendation 2400 and 2100, and it also recommended the state specific poverty line, that different state can have different poverty line depending upon their own expenditure, on level of inflation. And for the first time this committee talked about the inflation adjustment. This committee said that this poverty line should be regularly updated as per increase in the prices of goods, because if we do not consider the inflation, then there will be inaccurate reporting. So this committee for the first time talked about the inflation adjustment. Now the next was 61st round of NSSO, and this data is based upon 2004-5 data. They fixed the per capita monthly expenditure 356 and 538, and as per them the head count ratio was 28% as per URP and 21% as per MRP. So they considered both reference period. So you can see in the report that as per the URP the head count ratio is more, मतलब URP में poverty ज्यादा दिखाता है और MRP में poverty कम दिखाता है. क्यों? क्योंकि URP के अंदर हमने बहुत सारे खर्चे जो पहले किए थे, जो 30 दिन से पहले किए थे, वो हमने इंक्लूड नहीं किए कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर में. और जब वो कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर में इंक्लूड नहीं हुए तो जो कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर है वो आपका बिलो द पॉवर्टी लाइन आ गया, इसीलिए यहाँ पर वो पॉवर्टी के अंदर इंक्लूड हो गया. So as per NSSO these are the reports. So this was 61st round, this was 66th round, this was 68th round in 4-5, in 9-10, in 2011-12. So you can see the total in male it was 54, female 28.7, like that, right? The next committee is Tendulkar committee. So now you should be careful because now this is one of the important committee, and this is important committee. Even now we are using the Tendulkar committee recommendations. As of now the poverty line is based upon the Tendulkar committee recommendation, therefore you should be very careful about this. Their data is based upon the 2004-5 and they gave their report in 2009. Now they actually moved from calorie based poverty estimation to the nutrition, health and other expenditure like clothing, footwear. First time they introduced non-food item also, clothing, footwear. So this is very drastic change from the earlier committees. So it called for a basket of goods selected to determine poverty as the poverty line basket, right? So they called for poverty line basket, right? So in this we see the basket of goods prior to Tendulkar committee. Before Tendulkar committee there was only calorie, only food, and after the Tendulkar committee we also for the first time talked about the non-food item, and fixed poverty line was 446 for the rural area and 578 for the urban area. They used MRP basis. So first time we use the MRP basis. Why? Because MRP तो तभी यूज होगा ना जब आप नॉन फूड आइटम भी कंसिडर करोगे. If you are considering only food item, then URP is sufficient. So MRP was used first time in case of Tendulkar committee only, right? So we actually expanded the scope. We actually expanded the scope of basket of goods for the poverty line. Estimation of poverty. So estimation of poverty was 37.2% for all India and was 41.8% for the rural India and 25.7% for the urban India, right? So all India was 37.2, rural India 41.8 and urban India was very less, 25.7. So you can see the next committee is Rangarajan committee. Rangarajan committee, they used the data of 2004-5 and they gave their report in 2014. So they also stuck to calorie based poverty estimation, but they also added some non-food item also. And for the first time they talked about the monthly expenditure of a family of 5 rather than the individual, which was in existence before this committee. The poverty line was fixed at 972 for rural area and 1181 for the urban area. They used MMRP mixed modified reference period, and their estimation of poverty was 29.5. Now, so just take 1 minute and read this comparison between the two committees. Rangarajan committee in 2014. In case of Tendulkar committee, we are taking per capita. In case of Rangarajan, monthly. Here MRP, MMRP. Here only calorific value is being used. Here calorie plus protein plus fat is also being used. Estimation of poverty in 4-5 was 37.2. In 11-12 was 29.5. And if we consider the estimation of poverty of 2011-12 as per the Tendulkar committee, it was 21.9%. And it used all India urban poverty line to derive both urban and rural poverty. That means it did not specify rural poverty line separately, and it does not mean कि उन्होंने रूरल पॉवर्टी लाइन को खत्म कर दिया है ना. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि रूरल अर्बन पॉवर्टी लाइन को मर्ज कर दिया. दिस डज नॉट मीन दैट रूरल अर्बन पॉवर्टी लाइन हैज बीन मर्ज्ड. सो दे डिड नॉट यूज द रूरल पॉवर्टी लाइन बिकॉज they wanted to update the rural consumption basket, right? तो जो rural goods of basket था उसको अपडेट करना था, इसलिए उन्होंने टेम्परेरीली रूरल बास्केट को इन्होंने इग्नोर कर दिया और सिर्फ अर्बन को ही उन्होंने पूरे इंडिया में जो बास्केट ऑफ गुड्स था उन्होंने पूरे इंडिया में सेम बास्केट ऑफ गुड यूज किया. ठीक है ना. रंगराजन कमेटी ने दोनों को सेपरेटली यूज किया. नाउ सो one thing you can see as per the Tendulkar committee and as per the Rangarajan committee, if we calculate the poverty as per the Tendulkar committee in 9-10 this was 29.8%. In 11-12 is what it was 21.9%. If we see as per the Rangarajan committee, it was 38.2% and 29.5%. This is very interesting. So please, can you see one trend? So everyone please be attentive. This is very important because this issue has been highlighted many times. This issue has been in controversy many times, and even Niti Aayog has given its own opinion about this difference, right? सो रंगराजन कमेटी के हिसाब से जो पॉवर्टी है वो ज्यादा है और तेंदुलकर कमेटी के हिसाब से जो पॉवर्टी है वो कम है ना. इसका मतलब ये हो गया कि तेंदुलकर कमेटी ने जो पॉवर्टी लाइन रखी वो हाई है ना. तो पॉवर्टी लाइन हाई है तभी तो पॉवर्टी का रेशियो कम है और यहां पर पॉवर्टी लाइन जो है वो लो है, राइट. सो it can be seen that all India poverty ratio, that is the head count ratio, sorry, derived from the Rangarajan method is higher than derived from the Tendulkar method. So it was criticized, the Tendulkar committee was criticized that Tendulkar committee has underestimated the poverty. Underestimated the poverty. Tendulkar committee has underestimated the poverty, and it was criticized that when Rangarajan committee is telling that poverty is approximately 40% in 9-10, approximately 30% in 11-12, and here approximately 30% and approximately 20%. So there is a difference of approximately 10% between the two. So this difference can lead to many people being excluded from government benefit. So agar if the person is not classified as the BPL, then it might lead to exclusion of the person from the government schemes. It can lead to wrong notion that poverty has been decreased in India. It can lead to reduction in the government expenditure on the welfare purposes. It can lead to basically wrong reporting. So this was the criticism going on. This was the criticism going on. Now, what was the reply? What was the reply of the committee? What was the reply of the Tendulkar committee? So Tendulkar committee said justification for keeping poverty estimates low. Why it has kept the poverty estimate as low? So Tendulkar committee said that there can be three possible purposes, three possible purpose of calculation of poverty line. मतलब हम poverty line calculate कर क्यों रहे हैं? तो वो तीन कारण की वजह से हो सकता है. तीन कारण हो सकते हैं कि हम poverty line क्यों कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं या पॉवर्टी रेशियो हम क्यों कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं. पहला पर्पस हो सकता है आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ पुअर. मतलब कौन पुअर है कौन पुअर नहीं है. दिस वर्क इज नॉट डन बाय द पॉवर्टी लाइन. दिस इज डन बाय द बीपीएल सेंसस which is done by the state government, and as at present this is socio-economic caste census of 2011, right? So identification matlab if in a village there are 1000 people, who among them are poor and who among them are not poor, how to identify? So for identifying that we have the mechanism of BPL census. We do not identify them based upon the poverty line. We identify based upon the socio-economic caste census. Socio-economic caste census has its own criteria. Socio-economic caste census has automatic inclusion criteria, automatic exclusion criteria, right? And some deprivation indicator. We will discuss about this socio-economic caste census after some time. But आपको सिर्फ ये जानना है कि जो ये poverty ratio है, poverty line है, इसका एक कौन पुअर है कौन पुअर नहीं है उसके पहचान से कोई मतलब नहीं है. ये प्रैक्टिकल चीज मैं आपको बता रहा हूं. आपको पुअर आइडेंटिफाई करना है तो आपको पॉवर्टी लाइन से उसका कोई संबंध नहीं है. आपका संबंध है तो बीपीएल सेंसस से, जो विच इज कैरिड ऑन बाय द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. second point can be the allocation of expenditure on एंटी पॉवर्टी प्रोग्राम्स, है ना. तो सेकंड पर्पस हो सकता है कि वी यूज दिस डाटा ऑफ पॉवर्टी लाइन, दिस पॉवर्टी रेशियो फॉर एलोकेटिंग द गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर on the anti-poverty programs. This can be the second purpose, but practically even this is not done. Practically even this is not done. Then you might ask, sir, if poverty line is not used for identifying that how the expenditure should be allocated on the anti-poverty program, then what is the basis? So there are multiple bases. There are multiple bases depending upon the government scheme. So for example, if it is the housing scheme, for example the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, then they consider whether the person is having the house or not. They do not take whether the person is under BPL or not. If it is about MG Narega, the government actually considers whether the person is gainfully employed or not, right? So the allocation of expenditure is not done based upon the poverty line. It is based, the allocation is done in different scheme based upon different criteria. So different scheme have different criteria for as far as allocation is concerned, allocation of expenditure is concerned, right? So there is third purpose. Let us see what is the third purpose. So third purpose is tracking the changes, that is the ups and downs in the poverty level, tracking the changes in the poverty level across time and region. मतलब पहले कितनी थी पॉवर्टी, अभी कितनी पॉवर्टी है ना? या उत्तर प्रदेश में कितनी पॉवर्टी पहले थी, अभी कितनी पॉवर्टी है, मध्य प्रदेश में कितनी है, हाउ मच इज इन द महाराष्ट्र, हाउ मच इन द आंध्र प्रदेश, how much in the northeast. So to compare the poverty in the different state, or to compare the poverty in the different time period, this is the main purpose of calculating the poverty line. This is the main purpose of basically calculating the head count ratio as far as the purpose of this Tendulkar committee is concerned, right? So now these are the three different purposes. It means in the first purpose we are not using Tendulkar committee data. In the second purpose we are not using the third Tendulkar committee data. We are using the data in the for the third purpose only, that is for identify changes in the overall poverty in India, right? So now Tendulkar committee said that we have kept the poverty line as high so that we can identify extremely poor people, so that we can identify extremely poor people, right? So by keeping the poverty line high, right, we can actually identify the extremely poor people. We can identify the extremely poor people. So if the sorry uh, the, yeah, so Tendulkar committee kept the poverty line as low, not high. So by keeping the poverty line low, we have identified the extremely poor people, right? So if the person cannot afford even the consumption expenditure of even low poverty line, that is an extremely poor person, and government can focus upon these extremely poor people. This is the purpose, that government is able to make some schemes for them, right? So government should focus upon the extremely poor people. So that is the ultimate purpose, that our policies, our direction of the budget, the overall government thinking, that should be in the direction of focusing upon the extremely poor people, and not just for calculating the poverty and to decide that okay, our poverty is less or more, right? So objective is to identify the level of extreme poverty in India and accordingly refine our policy making. Therefore this Tendulkar committee estimate can be justified even if it gives the low figure of poverty ratio, right? So this is very crucial thing. You will come across many places that this criticism of Tendulkar committee. I have discussed with you all these things. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. Anyone have any doubt? Anyone, any doubt? Okay, it means there is no doubt. You can say that there is no doubt so that I can come to know. So Surajit, Manish,
No, sir,
Meena,
it's okay.
clear? Everyone clear?
Okay, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes.
ओके गुड गुड. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ मेंस में भी इसका क्वेश्चन आ चुका है ऑलरेडी. GS2 के अंदर, GS3 के अंदर ऑलरेडी इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. दिस कंट्रोवर्सी बिटवीन द पॉवर्टी लाइन, है ना. और ये मैंने जो डिस्कस किया है, आई हैव टेकन द रिपोर्ट ऑफ नीति आयोग, है ना. तो नीति आयोग के बेसिस पे मैंने ये डिस्कशन जो भी मैंने किया है वो किया है. ठीक है ना. एंड दिस इज वेरी रेयर. About relative poverty. So in case of relative poverty, we are basically comparing the actual income of a person versus the average national per capita income, right? So this is based upon the income, not based upon the consumption expenditure, right? So absolute poverty we are calculating based upon the consumption expenditure. Relative poverty we are calculating based upon the income. So relative poverty we can calculate based upon the income, not upon the consumption expenditure. Yeah. So if average national income is 1 lakh rupees in India, and the people who are earning less than 1 lakh rupees, they are relatively poor, and the people who are earning more than 1 lakh rupees, they are not relatively poor. So this is the primary difference between the relative poverty and the absolute poverty, right? So relative poverty basically represents inequality in the society. It represents inequality, that is the rich versus poor. So it defines poverty relative to appropriate comparative group. Thus, while an individual may have more than enough, right? So maybe the person is not absolute poor. To sustain life, it is very, if it is very low compared to the rest of the community, so we are taking rest of the community as the comparative group. So comparative group matlab rest of the community, the individual would be viewed as being in poverty. So like you are students, so you are relatively poor, so you are not earning anything, you are consuming, you are not absolute poor, but you are relatively poor. On the basis of, on this basis we have various economic categories of people. We have high income group, middle income group, lower income group, right? So we have different groups. And if we see World Bank international poverty line, these three higher, middle and lower income groups. This lower income is if the person is having below $1.9 per person per day, middle income is 3.3, and higher income is $5.5, right? So if person is having between 1.9 to 3.3, the person is in the middle income. If the person is having more than 5, like between 3.3 to 5.5, the person is in the high income group. Quintile income ratio, so this is one term, quintile income ratio. So it represents the ratio of average income of richest 20% to the that of poorest 20%. So suppose the average income of richest 20% is 20 crore, and the average income of uh, poorest is poorest 20% is suppose 1 crore. Accordingly we can calculate the ratio, and this will be representing the inequality. So in India, 73% wealth generated went to richest 1%. So this is the figure after 1991 reforms. So in 1991, the government brought various reforms. So those reforms have actually increased the inequality. Actually increased the inequality. Right? So this is the difference between the relative poverty and the absolute poverty. So take 1 minute and read this.
Full screen has not been seen, sir.
Okay, I hope you have read this. So in this slide you will find two new terms, Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient. So we will discuss these two terms. So basically relative poverty can be calculated with the help of Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient. So what are these two terms? Let us see. First of all, Lorentz curve. So this curve basically, you can see this curve. Suppose this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D, right? This line of 45 degree, this line of 45 degree represents perfect equality. So on this axis we have income of the person, and here we have population from poorest to the richest, right? So this line represents perfect equality. That means suppose we take here 5% people are having 5% income, so there is equality. 10% people are having 10% income, there is equality. 20% people are having 20% income, there is equality, right? So the comparison of percentage of population to the percentage of income is being done. Now this is the case of perfect equality, this line of 45 degree, right? So now this is the actual income distribution. This line is actual income distribution. So in this line you can see, suppose this is 30% population, the income is just around 7-8%. Suppose this is 50% population, the income of 50% population is around 15%, right? So this on this axis we are moving from poorest to the richest. So these people represent poor people, right? So income of 50% of the poor people is approximately 15% of the total national income. तो अगर पूरे इंडिया में 50% पुअर पीपल की इनकम सिर्फ 15% ऑफ द नेशनल इनकम है ना. सिमिलरली हियर सपोज 70% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन ऑफ इंडिया, द इनकम इज ऑलमोस्ट suppose 40% है ना. So this represents inequality. So this curve, in this curve we can see this line which is in the second half of the curve, right? This line is the actual income distribution, and this gap is the inequality gap. This gap is the inequality gap. और जितना गैप ये बड़ा होगा, यानी कि जितनी लाइन एक्चुअल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की वो दूर होगी परफेक्ट इक्वालिटी से, उतना ही इनइक्वालिटी ज्यादा है, राइट? सो दिस येलो फिलिंग, दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स inequality gap. So this is inequality, right? So this curve actually represents how much is the inequality. So जितना ये कर्व बड़ा होगा, जितना ये लाइन दूर होगी, उतना ही ज्यादा आपका पॉवर्टी होगी, right? So the Lorenz curve shows the proportion of income earned by any given percentage of population, right? So here we can see percentage of income earned by 20%, earned by 70%, 100%, so on. The line at the 45-degree angle shows perfectly equal income distribution, while the other line shows the actual distribution of income. The further away from the diagonal, the more unequal the size of the distribution of income, right? So जितना ज्यादा हमारा एक्चुअल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होगा, उतना like the more the distance of the actual distribution line from the perfect equality, the more is the inequality. Now next term is Gini coefficient, right? So that was this is the Lorenz curve. This is the Lorenz curve. Now based upon this curve, we calculate the inequality. So how do we calculate the inequality? So in this curve, suppose this inequality is represented by A. So this entire area from this entire area of inequality gap, this yellow area, this is represented by A. So Gini coefficient is the numerical value given to this inequality curve. So this will be equal to A upon BCD, the area of A, this yellow area, and the area of BCD. So this area BC and D, this area BC and D. So this area of BC and D, this entire basically one half, the lower half of the entire curve. So lower half of the entire curve we are taking in the denominator, and this inequality gap we are taking in the numerator, right? So higher the Gini coefficient, higher the inequality, right? Lower the Gini coefficient, lower the inequality, right? So जितना छोटा ये आपका येलो वाला बॉक्स होगा, जितना छोटा ये आपका येलो वाला बॉक्स होगा, उतना ही कम आपका इनइक्वालिटी है ना, उतना ही कम आपका गिनी कोएफिशिएंट की वैल्यू आएगी. So Gini coefficient, the Gini coefficient which is derived from the Lorenz curve. So this is derived from the Lorenz curve. It measures the degree of income inequality in the country by calculating the ratio of area between the diagonal, that is the line of equality, and the Lorenz curve divided by, so A is divided by area of half of the square in which the curve lies, that is BCD. So A divided by BCD. It measures the degree of income inequality. So it gives the numerical figure to the inequality. It can vary from 0. So if 0, इसका मतलब perfect equality. If it is 1, that means it is perfect unequal. So 0 means everyone is having same income in the country, and 1 means everyone is having unequal income in the country. A Gini coefficient of 0 means that everyone has the same income, while the coefficient of 1 represents a single individual receiving all the income. A indicates shaded area. From the graph, shaded area divided by area of BCD. If A is equal to 0, it means Lorentz curve is actually the line of equality, and then it indicates perfect equality with the Gini coefficient. Now, what is the present status of inequality in India? So, if we go by the 2018 report of human development by the United Nations Development Program, the Gini coefficient stands at 0.351. As per 2011, it was 0.368. So there is improvement in the situation, right? There is improvement because Gini coefficient has declined. Gini coefficient has declined. So there is improvement in the situation. As per 2018 report, there are many developed nations where income inequality is much higher than India. Some of them include China, United States, Israel, Russia, etc. Right? So इन सब कंट्रीज में, चाइना में, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में, इजराइल में, रशिया में हमारे से ज्यादा इनइक्वालिटी है. Now then there is World Inequality Report. This report has been given by World Inequality Lab, which is based in Paris. So you should remember this name. And it has indicated that inequality is lowest in the Europe and highest in the Middle East. Income inequality has increased rapidly in North America, India, China, and Russia, and has grown moderately in Europe. So in the Europe, inequality is least. It is the data. In the sub-Saharan Africa and in the Middle East, income inequality has remained relatively stable but extremely high level. So सहारा में, सब सहारा में और मिडिल ईस्ट में एक्सट्रीमली हाई है. Brazil is an exception where the inequality has declined. In India, from 1980 onwards, bottom 50% population has income share less than 15%, है ना? तो bottom 15% जो population है, 50% जो poor है, या not poor exactly, 50% जो bottom population है, their income is just 15%. Very, very dangerous. Then there is another report, Oxfam report. Oxfam report. This is published by charity group Oxfam. And as per this, the top 10% population hold 77.4% of the total national wealth. Top 1% hold 51% of the national wealth. This is very, very dangerous. Top 1%, 50% of the wealth. Can you see? Top 1% people holding 51% of the wealth. Bottom 60% have just 4.8% of the national wealth. These are not the good indicators. So please solve this question. Please solve this question.
So option D, sir.
Option C.
Okay. So answer is option C. Higher Gini coefficient indicates the failure of redistributive policies of the state. So option A, it helps in identifying the ratio of people below the poverty line. That is basically head count ratio, है ना? Option B, for India, Gini coefficient is increasing. No, this is decreasing. We just saw the report. And option C, higher Gini coefficient indicates the failure of redistributive policy. Yes. So answer is option C. Now this is the BPL census in the rural area. How we identify the poor people in the rural area. So I told you earlier that poor people are not identified with the poverty line. They are identified with some BPL census. So this BPL census is done by the conducted under the Ministry of Rural Development, right? So Ministry of Rural Development lays down the criteria, and definitely the identification is done by the state government only. So BPL census is conducted under the Ministry of Rural Development. In the first census was done in 1992, second and third 97, 90, 2002. In 2008, NC Saxena Committee gave its report, and it recommended that we should adopt the method of automatic inclusion and automatic exclusion. The percentage of people entitled to BPL status should be revised to at least 50%, and there should be proportionate increase in the state level estimate also. These estimates or these recommendations are not important. Don't take them seriously. And then in 2011, we conducted a BPL census or socioeconomic caste census first time, right? And in this socioeconomic caste census, we gave some automatic inclusion criteria. So you can see automatic inclusion criteria and automatic exclusion criteria. Automatic exclusion matlab if someone is having any one of them, if someone is having any one of them, that is any one of them, any one of these 14 items, the person will automatically be excluded from the BPL criteria. And if someone is having any one of these items, then the person will automatically be included. These are 7 items total, right? You do not need to remember the name of these items, right? You just need to see that there is some inclusion criteria, there is some exclusion criteria. You do not need to remember the name. And there are some deprivation indicators. Deprivation indicators. These deprivation indicators, for example, whether the household is kacha or it is with wall or roof, whether the adult are literate, whether the status is SC or ST, whether the person is landless, all these deprivation indicators are there, and the score is given for this deprivation indicator between 0 to 12, and this score, like how much the people with how much score should be included, that decision is taken by the state government. So it helps in identifying who is a poor person, and those people who are having the poor criteria, they get to benefit from this housing scheme, this skill scheme, health facilities, LPG connection, etc. So those people who are in the automatic inclusion criteria, they get to enjoy all these schemes which are provided by the government for the poor people. This is some data you can see later on. In the urban area, for the urban area in 2012, the Ministry of housing and urban poverty alleviation. It appointed a committee, SR Hasim committee, and it also recommended automatic inclusion, automatic exclusion, and scoring index, which is nothing but the socio-economic caste census only. But this recommendation was not implemented separately. So we have conducted socio-economic caste census, and this Hashim committee recommendations have not been taken out separately. These are the Hashim committee recommendations, not important. Then there is multidimensional poverty index. So all these things I have given in your handout, and I think I have not sent the handout yet, so I will mail you the handout today. I think rest of the things you should cover from the handout, because all those things are factual. You can cover from there, right? Now I want to focus upon some conceptual areas in the unemployment chapter, right? So I want to discuss those things. So these are very factual things you should read on your own. There are a couple of other concepts which I can discuss. One is this Engel's law, right? This Engel's law. This Engel's law basically says that as the income of the people rise, the percentage of income which is allocated for food, it will decrease, है ना? So for example, income and food expenditure. For example, income of a person is 3,000 rupees and food expenditure is 1,500. So how much is the share of food expenditure? So food expenditure is 50% of the income, है ना? अगर ये income बढ़ जाती है 10,000 rupees and food expenditure भी बढ़ जाता है, suppose it becomes 4,000 rupees, the food expenditure share is decreasing. Suppose this income further rises to 20,000 rupees, the food expenditure also rises to suppose 7,000 rupees. So share of food expenditure is further coming down. So can you see, as the income is increasing from 3,000 to 10,000 to 20,000, the share of food is coming down, right? So this is Engel's law. So this law says that percentage of income allocated for food purchases decreases as the income rises, right? It means that percentage of income spent on the food decreases while the proportion is spent on other goods such as luxury increases, है ना? So example I have already given. So this is another example, right? So this has been indicated in the in these diagrams also. So this is a very simple concept, and you can interlink this concept with the adverse impacts of inflation. Adverse impacts of inflation. तो कैसे होगा आप? How will you compare? Like how will you link? So we always say that inflation is not good for poor people, right? Because as per the Engel's law, the share of food expenses in the poor people's income is very, very high. So if because of inflation the food expenditure is rising further and further, their majority of income goes away in the food expenditure only. So the inflation has most adverse impact on the poor people as compared to the rich people. Rich people can bear the inflation, they can manage the inflation, because their food expenditure will not increase suddenly because their income is already high. So even if there is food inflation, still they can manage. But for the poor, the inflation is very, very difficult to manage. Now next concept is Kuznets curve. So Kuznets curve says, so it was developed by Simon Kuznets, and it says in the developing economy, initially the inequality will increase, and with increase in growth, inequality will come down. So this is the Kuznets curve. So this is in this, here you can say per capita income. Per capita income basically means the citizen per citizen income, right? So national income divided by estimated population, that is per capita income. And in the developing economies, the income inequality is increasing, and there will be a point where it will stagnate, and then it will start coming down. So inequality will decrease as the development increases. This is the assertion by the Kuznets curve. However, we can see, as we already discussed the data, in some countries like USA, Russia, this is not happening. In some countries like Europe, this is correct. So this theory may not be 100% true. Then there are some questions I have already given in the handouts. You should practice from there. Now